going on, guys? Thought I would just make a quick video on how to choose the right alternator belt for your motor. And the reason I'm doing this is, for one, this is a swapped car, so you can't just look it up by your make and model, and I can't look it up by the make and model of this motor because I swapped out the crank pulley to a JDM Civic Type R crank pulley, and that one's a lot smaller than the stock one, not only in width but the diameter of the actual alternator pulley, well, crank pulley, is smaller. So, you know, I thought that the Civic Type R would be the same belt, so I went and bought one of the, Integra Type R would be the same belt. Went and bought one of those, and it wasn't the right size, so I figured out this trick that will save you. So, and the reason why I changed out the crank pulley in the first place is, I mean, for one, this one's way heavier and get a little bit less unsprung weight. But if you see right here, the actual power steering portion of the crank pulley was rubbing on my traction bar, and what I had to do was mount this on the outside just so I could drive it. But now I got that one in there and we got plenty of clearance. I mean, the car isn't under any load yet, but still has a lot more clearance than before. But I'm gonna show you guys how to make sure you get the right belt. Okay, so what you're gonna wanna do here is put your alternator probably, I don't know, like halfway. Leave yourself some room in the back just for a little bit more adjustability and tension, but I put mine a little bit further than halfway tightened. So, you know, tighten it down, just snug it up so it's not gonna move. And then what you're gonna wanna do is get a piece of shoestring or some sort of cable, whatever you have, and you're gonna wanna, you know, loop it around the crank pulley and the alternator and just tie it like it would be the belt. And I would use string, but all I have is this electrical tape. It worked for me. I just like folded it in half. So I'm gonna tie that around there, then I'll show you what you do next. Okay, so we got our little electrical tape alternator belt there. See, I just tied it off right to the crank pulley. So now what you're gonna wanna do, get a little razor blade, pair of scissors, whatever, and just cut it. Now you're just gonna grab your little string belt, go over to a tape measure. I'm gonna do this with one hand. Okay, so I would try and, you know, you're not gonna be filming, so just pull it somewhat straight. Don't put too much tension on it if you're using like a stretchy material like this. But kind of pull it, and we are at pretty much 29. Yeah, we're right at 29. So what I did is I went to AutoZone or O'Reilly's, whatever parts store you have, and the first number on the actual belt part number usually is the length in inches of the belt. So I got a 29 0K4 belt, and it fits perfect. So as you guys can see, the belt is perfect, like halfway on the tensioner, the alternator. So yeah, that's a little tip if you guys need to figure out what belt to run. I mean, if you are running a N1 pulley on a B series, you could just get this part number. Theoretically, I would measure just to be sure, but yeah, I hope this helps anyone.